Fresh, frozen, or freeze-dried, which fruit ferments the finest? Let's find out. Do you know how long I had to practice that to be able to say that on camera? Okay, anyway, so yeah, this is a test. What we're going to be testing is fresh fruit, frozen fruit, and freeze-dried. We're gonna make a strawberry mead today, 3 different ways, and it should be exactly the same except for the type of fruit added. So let's get to it. Since this is a mead, we need some honey.
First off, all these buckets and all the tools we've been using have been sanitized in the red bucket of sanitization. I propped myself up for that one because Brian likes to catch me when I'm unaware.
I thought she was trying to set me up, and I'm like, it ain't happening. Okay, so for this test, now, one thing I want to remind everyone, this is a test video, not a recipe video. So don't get too caught up in the details of what our recipe is here. Even though I'm making something that I'm going to want to drink, it's not going to be the absolute most comprehensive recipe because it's literally to keep the variables.
Right. This is not the pinnacle of strawberry mead.
Exactly.
This is simply trying to have all the variables as minimized as possible so that the primary variable is the different styles of strawberry.
Exactly.
Fresh, frozen, or freeze-dried.
And we're using 2 pounds of honey in each one. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just putting 2 pounds of honey into each bucket. Going to be as accurate as I can. Okay, so we have 2 pounds of honey in each bucket. To that, I'm going to add 80 ounces of water.
It's warm water to help with the mixing of the honey. Now, getting equal amounts of water was really easy because we're using our pitcher with the raised numbers. So that way, 80 ounces is right there, and I made sure to measure each time.
Okay, now I want to give these a really good mix because I want to make sure that they're all mixed properly and approximately the same density. So I'm just going to mix them up.
It's a lot easier to mix honey and water together when there isn't other things in the way. That's why we're not adding the strawberries at this time.
But our table is shaky still.
Yep.
Don't worry, I got to make a call.
Remember, at this stage of the game, oxygen is A-OK because that oxygen is actually going to help the yeast be fruitful and multiply and build up the colony before they get to work converting the sugars into alcohol.
So be rough with it. That's what she's trying to say. Just don't splash, because we measured this out. So be careful. Now, I want to mix it thoroughly for a couple of reasons. One, I want to get an accurate reading when we take our hydrometer reading. But 2, I don't want to cross-contaminate. I don't want honey to carry over from this one into this one. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, but there's like 4 drops of honey water on there. Yeah, you're right. There is. One thing I would also like to point out is that this is just one test with this set of variables. We are trying to limit those variables, but it is just one test. Science works by multiple tests over lots of different variables to see if that standard applies across all platforms. So we aren't doing that because, oh my God, it would just be nuts. Nobody's going to want to sit there and watch 14 hours of us testing this with all the different fruits that we could use and all the different varieties of honey and the different gravities of honey. It just, no, we're not doing that.
Beyond all that, the biggest variable is the strawberries themselves. Now, I know that when you freeze dry a fruit, some fruits really retain their flavor. Some flavors get enhanced and some flavors get diminished.
Right.
So that alone will not carry across in all different varieties of fruit.
Funny story about this. We went to Aldi, and this is how this all started. We were talking about doing something like this. We went to Aldi, and they had several different kinds of dried fruit on the shelf. And
Freeze-dried.
That's what I meant. Several different kinds of freeze-dried fruit on the shelf. And Derek asked me, do we want to do strawberries or apples? And I said, apples. We should do apples. It'd be like a cider. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks after we bought that stuff, and we were at the store to get strawberries for the freeze-dried versus frozen versus fresh strawberry mead video. And we did that. And then we realized we didn't have frozen strawberries, so we had to go back out. Now, keep in mind, it's 20 minutes each way for us to go to the grocery store now.
Yeah, it's not like just around the corner.
Yeah. So we went out and got frozen strawberries. Thankfully, she needed some stuff from Lowe's for gardening anyway, so it was no big deal. But anyway, we get home, and then we start digging out the ingredients to do this, and we realized
we found the bag of apples.
We got apples, not strawberries. So we had to go back out. So this has been an investment in time and gas just to this point. I think it's funny and frustrating, but it's the life of a YouTuber sometimes.
It's a good story.
It is. It's a good story. Okay, so that's number 2 mixed up. I see no remnants of honey. Do you see remnants of honey?
I do not see remnants of honey.
All right, let me shake off every last drop. Okay, and we mix this one.
Now you can probably see from your vantage point that I went ahead and labeled each bucket with some masking tape, and I just wrote fresh, frozen, and freeze-dried.
Now you might be wondering, what exactly are we testing here? Because we know that freeze-dried fruit's going to ferment, we know frozen fruit's going to ferment, and we know fresh fruit's going to ferment. But the real test is which tastes better. Or does one ferment better? Does one, I mean, it's going to be hard to say. If one goes totally dry and another one doesn't, I can't really say for sure that that means it won't always do that. But I think flavor at the end of the day is probably going to be the best judge.
Yeah.
So that's our ultimate test here.
Flavor is king.
Yep. And we'll do some sort of a blind taste test at the end. I've yet to figure that part out. We just got this far, you know. All right. Do you see any remnants?
I do not see any remnants. Are you ready to take a gravity reading?
I am.
Let me go get those tools.
Okay. Okay. So next up, I want to verify that where's the baster? There's. I want to verify that we got these all the same, and I will make adjustments if they're off. I want them to be the same. I target something around a 1.090. Nailed it. 1.090 for whatever one this is, because I can't read.
Freeze-dried.
That's the freeze-dried. Oh yeah, because oh, look at you. 1.090. Okay. Interestingly enough, that one's 1.094. Okay, I took another reading on that just to make sure, and it really is 1.094. So just for the efforts of sameness, we're going to add just a couple ounces of water to this, mix it up again. Due diligence. Mix thoroughly. We're very, very close, 1.092. I think I'll just add that tiny little bit again and get it as close as I can to 1.092. I'm not messing with it anymore. We're good. 2 points is not going to make a difference. Really, I'm just tired of adding more water.
All right, are you done with the measuring equipment?
Yep.
Would you like to go wash your hands?
Yep. Next, because we're going to be adding berries, and strawberries in general do have a pretty good amount of pectin, we're going to be adding some pectic enzyme. Now, we debated whether we should or not, and thought this is the most opportune time to use it, and if we use it on all three, it should act equally on each, therefore equal. So it's not really a variable, because most people would use this. And if you wouldn't, that's okay too. It's probably not going to be the deciding factor. I'll just be honest.
So we're doing a half a teaspoon in each bucket.
Half teaspoon, half teaspoon, half teaspoon. And you know what's coming next.
Now, if you saw or listened to our podcast about pectic enzyme, you do know that there's an element to the efficiency of pectic enzyme, and that's temperature. Now, we do have warm water in here now, but it's not hot. It's not nearly to the optimal temperature to activate pectic enzyme.
Yeah, the optimal temperature for the optimal efficiency of pectic enzyme is actually higher than the temperature that yeast can survive at.
So we're not doing that.
No, and I don't suggest doing that.
And then once we add the berries, because some are fresh from the refrigerator, some are frozen from the freezer, though we have been thawing them for a couple of days, and then some are freeze-dried, not cooled at all, that's going to change things a little bit as well. We are aware of that variable, but there's very little we can do at this time to mitigate that.
Time of fermentation to me isn't a crucial thing for this test. It's really, what is the end product like? How much more cleanup is there with one than another? That's another thing I want to look at. But time for fermentation, we already know that that is a variable we can't really control, especially given the situation like Derek just described. But now it's time to add some of our berries. Now, I want to point something out. We chose what we chose on purpose. We started with 2 pounds of fresh berries, and I checked in Chronometer. That comes to 299 calories. So we got 2 pounds of frozen strawberries, which also comes to 300 calories. And then I got 3 ounces of freeze-dried strawberries, which when you add up all the calories comes to 300 calories. So we have the same amount of sugars, not necessarily the same amount of fruit, because the water's been removed, water may or may not be removed, and these are fully intact. So there's slight variances, and that's what we're testing. But the calories in each is the same. That's the only unit of measurement I could do to get freeze-dried to match fresh. There was no other way. And I'll be totally honest, I didn't do that math until just a couple minutes ago, so I guessed right when I was at the store. Anyway, so first with the fresh. And
This is fresh.
yep, there's a million ways to do this. As in, you can just put the whole fruit in. We just rinsed them, by the way. There's no other sanitation done to them because we're trying that out too. You can put them in the blender. You can put them in a food processor, or you can just Squeeze them with your fingers and break them up a little. That's all I'm really doing here. Is just gonna break them up slightly.
He's Hulk smashing.
Yeah, it's gonna be nasty.
It is. I don't know why you opted that version for you.
Well, because it's probably the best way to go.
Or you can have your adoring wife do it for you.
Or we could both do it so it happens faster. I know I say this all the time, that you don't really need to break them up, and I don't think you do. But I want to make it a little bit easier for the yeast, because here's the thing. In nature, the fruit will fall apart on its own, and the yeast will be able to get to it. So we're kind of just simulating that, just breaking it up a little bit, falling apart just a touch, because, you know, nature doesn't really have food processors and blenders. So the idea that you have to blend it, I disagree. And yes, whoa, you got me. We are doing stems, the whole thing. Every bit of the strawberries going in. I'm not going to take anything out. And that may make a difference too. We don't really know. All right, hands are washed. That's all done with. Fresh strawberries are in. Onto the frozen. Now, these I'm not going to mash up, because what happens is when you freeze a fruit and then let it thaw, the cell walls naturally break down. So that should be enough breakdown to help with fermentation. They are rather intact though, so you know what? I think we are. Just squeeze the bag.
Don't squeeze the Sherman.
Yeah, we say don't squeeze the bag, but in this case, you want to. Just kind of breaking them up a little bit. Same concept, just breaking them slightly. I've come to appreciate strawberries more in the last couple of years. They're always Derek's favorite thing, and I was like, okay.
Cold.
Yep, they are. Okay, and now I'm just going to dump them in carefully. I will tell you, so far, I'd rather work with frozen than fresh, because it's a little easier.
There you go.
There's juices, though.
You need to...
I don't know. I think I'm going to use the baster. Yeah, let's use the baster and rinse them out. What I mean by juices is inside this bag, there's a lot of juice, and that's your sugars. I don't want to waste that. So I'm just going to grab the baster and kind of spritz it around in there, see what I can get.
We're using the liquid from our buckets, so that way we're not diluting anything anymore.
Yeah, we're not changing anything. We're just using up all of this particular ingredient as best we can. These are just great value from Walmart strawberries. So nothing fancy, nothing expensive. I should have checked on price difference. I know the freeze dried, they are like $2.69 per ounce, which would be like $7. I don't know how much fresh strawberries are at Publix. Usually you get, at Publix, we were getting fresh strawberries, like 2 pounds was like $10, I think. So the freeze dried is a little bit more economical that way. I would imagine frozen is even better than that, but I don't know offhand. But it's Walmart, so probably.
You good?
Yep. And last but not least is the freeze dried. Now, I know I said that I'd rather work with the frozen than the fresh, but I gotta admit, freeze dried is probably the easiest, because there's no cold to deal with, and they're just like, they look like flower petals almost.
Yeah, so we don't have to disrupt their cells or smush them, because they're already pre-sliced.
And the shelf life.
The freeze drying process, I'm pretty sure, disrupted those cells quite nicely.
Oh, heck yeah. These things are, they're going to soak up the juice rather than emit juice, which is kind of an interesting thing.
There is some powder, so whack your packet.
Yeah. But like I said, when we look at longevity, fresh strawberries aren't going to last very long. Frozen strawberries will last only as long as your freezer does. We found that out the hard way. Whereas freeze-dried, these things should stay on the shelf, good on the shelf, till March 6th of 2027 is what it says on here. We are in July of 2025, so you got 2 years on the shelf with this stuff. And that's the sell-by date. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're still edible in April of 2027. Okay, here's where things are going to vary just a tiny bit. We just dumped in the strawberries, dumped in the frozen strawberries. The dry ones, well, they're not sinking. They're not soaking up. So I am going to mix them in a little bit. I don't think this changes the test, because this is a necessary step that you'd have to do. Could I mix these two? Sure. But if I do that, I have to rinse this off, because then I'd be cross-contaminating between the different samples, and I don't want to do that. The one thing I will say right off the bat is there's a huge color difference. The freeze dried, after hitting liquid, went very, very dark. Like they look like really, really ripe strawberries. The fresh also looks that way. The frozen are kind of pink. They're not all that dark. They look the least appetizing. Now you might be wondering, why didn't we make full 2-gallon or gallon batches of this? Because we don't need to make that much mead at a time. And I just wanted a good enough test. Something comes out around 11 to 12% or so to be a realistic amount of mead. Apparently there's someone at my front door. It's some deliveries. That's right. We got a delivery and I really didn't plan this. This is from one of our VIPs. He went out to a place that does meadow foam honey and decided to send us some more. So thanks, Ron. Really appreciate it. We're going to be working together, making a recipe for this honey on this show. All right.
Now back to your regular scheduled programming.
Okay. So we have our 3 musts. We have all the strawberries in. It's time to add something to make them actually ferment. And for that, what are we going to be using?
Melvin 71B.
The yeast. We love this yeast. We use it all the time for a reason. It's a very good performer and it's reliable for us. And that is important because we wanted to eliminate a variable that could happen with fermentation. So
basically, whenever we do a test that the variable is not yeast, we're probably going to be using 71B because it is so reliable for us in our current location.
Right. And I don't want to underdo the amount of yeast or overdo. So I'm just going to use basically almost a flat teaspoon. That's a lot of yeast for these, but it's not so much as to be a stupid amount. So I'm just going to mix that over the top. It's a little bit more than a half packet, I think. Some internal thwackage there.
Some tricky thwacking there, babe.
Fancy thwackage.
Fancy.
All right, can you hold on to this while I open a new one? Because it is slightly over a half, so it's more than we really needed for this test, but it's not so much as to be ridiculous. And spread that out on top. And then this one, and what we'll have is some insurance yeast for carbonating with, I think. Here, I'll just do this. I hate to waste it, so little thwack, 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 thwack. Do the middle one twice, just in case.
Get in there.
We have thwacked ourselves into oblivion. All right. Now, I'm not going to mix the yeast in because every time I do, it sticks to the sides.
You can do a little wiggle wiggle.
Those yeast never live up to their expectations. So next, all we need to do is put some lids and airlocks on these. Okay, we have our lids, we have our airlocks, but the first thing I have to do is seal those lids.
Oh, right.
Because if your lid doesn't snap, your seal's crack. That is the biggest issue with plastic buckets. Other than that, I actually rather like them because I don't have to worry about it. Wow, that was a good snap.
That was a good one.
That is definitely not a crap seal.
Is it flat? There we go.
I wasn't done. But that is really the only thing I don't like about plastic buckets. The main reason why we like them is because I know all 3 of these will not erupt and cause a mess all over our kitchen or our laundry room, which is the stand-in for the fermentation right now until the studio's done. So we got airlocks. So this is freeze-dried,
yep,
frozen, and fresh.
Fresh.
Yeah, we'll go that way. All right. What's going to happen with these now?
They're gonna sit.
We'll see when fermentation has come to a nearing end point. It's been 2 weeks. Let's give them their first check, see how they're doing.
These have been happily bubbling away.
Oh yeah, they're in our kitchen because we ran out of room in the laundry room. Don't worry, call us in. The AC guy's coming on Wednesday to give us an estimate. We might be in a studio in just a couple of weeks. That'd be nice. You got to see this. This would be the freeze-dried. It does not look attractive, but I'm betting you we get full extraction from that fruit. I mean, it just looks like it's falling apart and just wow. But I don't see any mold. I don't see anything causing it to not be a healthy fermentation. There's plenty of goop, that's for sure. Now this started at 1.090. I'm expecting that they dropped a bit, but not fully. It's very cloudy. 0.998. I'm still going to pour the sample back in. We're still going to take another reading on all the rest, and we're not doing anything more with this today. We will check it again in a week and make sure, just to be super sure, I guess.
So an interesting observation that I had bringing these over to the table is how lighter the freeze-dried bucket was. And that's because they were freeze-dried. They had
extra liquid.
All the liquid removed. So of course they're going to be lighter.
Which led to an observation that it is possible at the end we'll have less volume from that one unless we squeezed out all of the fruit. Because being that there was no liquid in it, they would have sucked some up, so they're not going to give it all back out. It's an interesting thing to know, but I don't know how much difference that really makes. Okay, time to see this one now.
We thought freeze-dried looked gross.
I'm not sure that the frozen looks any better. It just... Okay, I'm not even going to say what it looks like, but it's nasty. It's just gross. It's
brains!
Just not... Yeah.
Brains!
Well, it looks like somebody ate brains and then...
Stop.
Yep. Sorry, but that's what it looks like. Oh, right. I got to take a reading.
Yep.
But the fact that they're breaking down like that says that we're probably getting a really good amount of extraction from them. And that's always the unknown when you're using fruits like this, is you never know how much you're really getting from them, whether it's flavor or sugars. Now, strawberries don't have a lot of sugar, so it's not a huge deal.
I feel like the color is slightly different, too.
It's slightly different color, and it's a lot clearer than the last one. 0.994.
So far I'm thinking yeast like strawberry.
Yeah, there is that. Now, I know someone will probably want to draw a conclusion about one of them going further than the other. I wouldn't draw any conclusion from that. 4 points of gravity at that point. I still don't see that as statistically important. I don't see that as a huge difference.
All right, so Brian's going to seal this one up good while I go sanitize.
All right, so on to the last one, and this is the fresh. I expect that this will probably look the best right now because fresh fruit doesn't fall apart as easily.
Yeah, they should be pretty pale, though.
Yeah, they lose their color. I was wrong. Boy, was I wrong. I think the stems and everything really made that look even more nasty. The little pale green in there, they did really lose a lot of their color, but not fully. But yeah, I don't see any mold. There's nothing untoward, so we're ready to read it.
We feel it's really important to give you a look at what's going on there because if you're a first-time brewer and you saw any of these images that we've been showing,
you might dump it out.
You might be concerned. This is completely normal. We've fermented with strawberries a lot, and we know, first of all, they're going to give up their color. They're going to turn this icky, grayish, pink, mauve thing.
Yep.
And that alone might cause some concern.
It does seem like the fresh is the clearest. 0.994. What's interesting is that the fresh actually started at 1.092 and went to 0.994. So it actually fermented the most of the three, but only by 6 points. Because the difference between them is the freeze-dried fermented 92 points of gravity. Frozen fermented 96 points of gravity. And fresh fermented 98 points of gravity.
But honestly, when you get to these numbers under 1.000, determining which one did better than the other really...
I wouldn't call that statistically important.
No.
Because we could do this test again. We could do this test 20 times and get slightly different results each time from that. What we're really looking at from this test is...
flavor.
The final result. How is it at the end? So because these are so low, and it's been 2 weeks on the fruit, we like to go 2 to 3 weeks on the fruit. So we're going to give them one more week. We'll recheck the numbers, just make sure that they're all about the same, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so last week, these were at the done level. So this week, we're just going to make sure of that and move forward. 0.994. Oh, I know somebody's going to say, that means it's still fermenting. Well, here's the thing. It's so low that I'm not really worried about it. So I have this sample here. If I pour it back in there, it's going to make a mess. But if I just pour it...
We're going to have a mess regardless, so it's up to you.
Well, there's a little bit of goop, but I'm going to put it into the...
All right.
We're going to be racking these today.
All right, so I got our rumble jar out and I sanitized it. It has itty bitty tiny whiny holes that are hopefully going to keep all that strawberry goop out of our racking procedure.
And basically what we're doing, you can actually use, there's a thing for hops that you can use for that too. It's a very similar idea. It's just a sieve, essentially. And we're just going to submerge it into the liquid, insert, auto siphon. I removed the cap just because, don't need it. And that way I can go all the way to the bottom, but we don't get any stuff. As you can see, it's nice and clear. Now, this doesn't stop lees from getting through, but it does stop the gross lees, or the big stuff. Okay, on to frozen. I am going to take a reading, and I'm going to do it through the rumble jar because it's just easier to do. Looks like 0.992 for that one. So it is still going down. So this is further proof that when you see someone say, oh, it's at 998 and it's done, not necessarily. Now, here's the thing. Is it dangerous to rack and leave something under airlock when it's that low? I don't think so at all. It could be slightly dangerous to bottle it at that point, though. So that's where racking it and leaving them sit for a while is probably a great idea. Okay, so now we're going to rack this one. You take that end, I'll take this end. All right, in we go. So far, my assessment would be that they both fermented well so far, but I would say that the freeze-dried is probably slightly messier. We lost more to lees and goop at the bottom of that one than I think we're going to lose on this one.
There also is a volume difference based on the liquids that are naturally in the fruit, whether it's frozen or fresh versus
That's true.
freeze-dried.
We said the freeze-dried might actually absorb more of the liquids.
And it has no liquid to release.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go sanitize stuff.
All right, so that leaves us with the fresh fruit version, and let's get the lid off of this one and do another check. I know we do a lot of checks, but you know what? It's important. It's good to know. We are seeing a color difference already. The first one, the freeze-dried, is very reddish orange. Then you have the frozen, it's kind of orangey. And then this, it's almost like pink, 0.994.
So fresh did not ferment any further.
Yeah. It's really hard to say if those numbers matter at all. I mean, they're within 2 points of each other at this point. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Not statistically relevant. Just like before, I'm gonna rack it, do the homebrew shuffle over here, put this all the way to the bottom, get it started. Yeah, the green looks nasty after a while in here, but that'll add tannins. So I'm expecting the fresh to taste a little bit different just because of that. Now, it could be argued that we should have removed the tops, but I would argue against that because if we're using fresh, we want the whole thing. Like if I had stems and everything, I'd still use that too. So to me, this is just part of the fresh method versus freeze-dried or frozen. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, someone always asks whenever we do fruit like this, what do you do with the fruit afterwards?
We compost it.
Yep. If you really want to, you can eat it. However, think of why the fruit was there. It was to give up its sugars and flavors. So if it gave them up, what do you think it tastes like now? They almost never taste good. I can tell you because I've tried them all. Not in a long time because I know what they taste like now and I don't want to do it again. And just like with the frozen, we got a little bit more product out because I think the frozen and the fresh both have more juices in them. They add water to the mix.
The color between the fresh and the frozen is very similar.
But the fresh is slightly more red than the other one. That's really interesting. So if color is super important in your brews, freeze-dried so far has the nicest color for a strawberry wine. These are done, they're racked, they're finished fermenting. We're gonna let them sit for another week and then move forward with the testing. Okay, so it's been one more week. Now these were all really, really low, 994, 992s, but we're gonna take one more reading just for the sake of science to be sure. So right now this is the freeze-dried. Okay, freeze-dried is still at 0.994. All right, so since we have a sample here, I'm gonna pour some in a glass. It's reasonably clear, but it has some haze to it. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Literally. Wow, what do you know? 992, just like before. Now, these have only been going for literally 25 days, so it's not even all that long. But I like to do tests like this. And last but not least is fresh. That actually went down to 992. Now, before anybody reads too far into that, I could say that's 993. It's like so close.
Yeah.
You know, so they're all within 2 points of each other.
Now, because our setup looks so nice, we're going to take a thumbnail picture.
Be right back. All we want to do here is take a taste of these and see, is there a difference, first of all, and what is the difference? Now, right off the bat, let's hold them all up. The color difference between fresh and frozen, minimal, if anything. I don't really see much at all. Frozen looks a little clearer, less hazy.
I think I differ.
Okay, what do you
feel
think?
like this is hazier. and
Oh.
this has more color.
Okay, well, at the angle I'm at, it's hard to see.
They're so similar that it's hard to really say. But
Oh.
from my point of view,
Yeah.
the frozen looked a little cloudier and the fresh
Yeah.
looked a little more intense in color, but smidgens on both aspects.
Basically, if you looked at one, looked away, and looked at the other one, you wouldn't know the difference.
Right.
They're so close. Remember, we
Where-
used to be photographers.
Where
Oh, God.
there's definitely a color shift
The
between
freeze-dried has a lot more red.
Yeah.
The others are kind of a yellowy orange.
Yep.
But the freeze-dried is definitely more red.
Yep.
Clarity, though, it's the haziest, too. It has the most haze, which makes sense. It probably got the most pectin.
right.
Strawberries don't have a lot of pectin, but they do have some.
Also, if you think about it, the freeze drying process may have broken
Darkened
down
it.
the particles to a point that they're going to stay in suspension. So because they're still in this suspension, they could be making a cloudy beverage, but also more color intense beverage because those particles have color. That's just
It could also be a slight cooking
educated guess.
of the sugar, so that might make it a little darker.
All right, now it's time to smell.
Smells like strawberries.
Is it strawberry sweet or strawberry shortcake the doll?
Yeah, kind of. Okay. I want to see if she notices something that I noticed right off the bat. The fresh one is doing something that the other two are not doing. What do you notice?
The fresh one smells more like wine.
It smells the harshest to me.
The
Has the most.
The freeze dried had some oddity.
So I think the fresh has the most funk.
Swirl and smell the freeze dried.
There's something going on here, but it's not
Yeah.
funk.
Well,
It's a different fruity flavor.
it's a different funk. It's funk adjacent.
Okay, I see what you're. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like the aroma of the frozen
Frozen
the
has the
best.
nicest smell, yeah. Definitely. It's fruity. It comes across a little sweet.
Yeah,
It doesn't smell as new,
right.
as young.
The fresh smells very young.
The youngest, actually. The
Yeah.
freeze-dried actually smells better than the fresh. It's just different.
There's something going on in the freeze dried that's not working for me on the aroma.
Really?
Yep. But it could just be me. And remember, everybody's perception of reality is different.
Yeah.
That's something that I can't stress hard enough.
Oh, that's definitely... I mean, the frozen has a stronger smell, too. It's not just a better smell. It's stronger. But
All right.
something's going on there. All right, what do you want to taste first?
Flavor time. I don't know.
Pick one.
You
You
pointed
taste
it.
that one, then I'll taste it.
Okay. This is the fresh.
I'm expecting, based on the smell, that the fresh is going to taste the most young, the most kind of harsh and sour-like. It's a little astringent. It's very dry.
I am still getting honey notes in this. Like I went and looked at the list. I'm like, was this a wine or a mead? No, this was a mead. I got honey notes, not sweetness, fermented honey.
Oh, okay.
There's a distinctive difference
Yeah,
there.
yeah. It doesn't taste like fermented strawberries,
No.
but it tastes like there's strawberries in it,
Yes.
which is what it is.
Right. All right. So that was curious. All right.
All right.
Now on to, do we want to grab water and cleanse our palates? People get so irate about this.
Yeah, I never do, because when I do, I lose the flavor profile of the thing before. Now, some people say that it blends them in your mouth and you can't taste the difference.
And that's
we
why
do
they
so
go
many tastings back and forth.
forwards and then backwards to.
I personally feel I get a better feel for it when I don't wash my mouth out in between. But your mileage may vary. She's reserving judgment till I taste it. It's less harsh than the fresh, but not by much.
Yeah. I was getting the honey notes on the very beginning and the very ending of the fresh.
I only get it on the end.
I was only getting it on the end of the frozen.
Okay.
Again, that could be the palate situation. I don't know.
right.
I'm going to try with water next
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
because we got plenty to drink here. So
This is true. That's why I made big pours. This is also, I can calculate the ABV in a second. That's my least favorite.
up front, I felt like it had more flavor.
There's a sharp note right at the beginning. Like a very, very sharp acidic note that I really don't like.
Right now, I don't really care for any of them.
No. All three of them are very dry, very young. So this might be a slightly unfair test, but we are going to do a second part to this today.
How about you go, if you could, since you're on that side, grab the water. I just want, we're probably going to speed this part up. I'm just going to do this again with water in between.
You're supposed to do water in between each one.
Yeah, I haven't done this one. I decided to go crazy and do this one first.
Oh.
When I had water and then this one felt like it had sweetness up front. Did you get the little bit of sweetness at the very beginning? No?
Not really. Okay. I don't like any of them. I'll just say that. However, the freeze-dried seems to be like half a point away from the other two as far as flavor profile overall. There's something muddying it down. That's the best I can say. The flavor is muddied. It's not as fresh tasting strawberry as the other two.
This is really interesting.
But the differences are very minor.
Very minor. I was anticipating there to be vast differences in flavor
hardly
profile.
Anything really.
So my suggestion is we
want to do the sweetening thing. We had talked about it off camera.
Yeah, I think we should do the sweetening thing.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. Because these are very dry and they're almost unpalatable. So trying to say this one's better or that one's different is really hard because this isn't the way we would drink them. So what we're going to do is rack all of them into a pitcher. We're going to do this off camera just so you don't have to watch the agonizing torture of us doing this. We're going to rack them all into a pitcher separately. We're going to add enough sugar to bring them to, what do you think, like 1.012
Sure.
gravity? Okay, we're going to go with 1.012 gravity. So we're going to add honey. I'm sorry, not sugar. We're going to add enough honey to bring them all to the same level of sweetness. Now, I know that 2 points does factor in there, but it's so minor that it doesn't matter. By putting them all to the same sweetness level, we're kind of evening the playing field, and then we're going to taste them again. But before we go, let me tell you the ABV that they are.
And while he's figuring that out, I'm going to elaborate a little bit. The reason why we're going to back sweeten them and then taste them right away is to limit variables. Remember, this is a test, and so we're trying to limit as many variables as possible so we can focus on the main variable, which is the different type of fruit, preservation, whatever. So if we stabilized after back sweetening, which we would have to because we're back sweetening with honey, then that is introducing another variable which may alter the results of the test.
Which we're going to pasteurize afterwards just because we'd have to.
Yeah.
But for the sake of the tasting, we're not going to. That also means that the honey doesn't get time to mellow with the brew. So it's another variable, but it's a controlled variable that we don't have any.
And it's the same across the playing field, so it really isn't a variable.
Okay, so I did the ABVs, and they're all a little bit different. The freeze-dried is 12.6%. The frozen is 12.9%, and the fresh is 13.1%. Now, is that half a percentage point between the lowest and the highest statistically important? Yeah, I think it is. Half an ABV, it's like 4 points of gravity. Now, I know I said 4 points of gravity doesn't really matter, but half a point, I don't know. It's not super important, but it is something to be aware of.
It could possibly slightly alter the flavor. As we've already said, the flavor profile is very similar with nuance of differences, but in the commercial realm, that difference doesn't even count.
Yeah, I'm saying it's maybe something just to take note of, but I wouldn't say that it's a game changer.
Sure.
Like if somebody says, oh, I'm going to use fresh so I can get more alcohol. I don't know that that's necessarily accurate.
Right. I just wanted to reiterate to our audience that the ruling on professional alcohol
is plus or minus 2% or 1.5%.
Right.
Like so like if they have 11% on the bottle, it could be anywhere from 9.5 to 12.5%.
Of all the bottles labeled the same thing, they can vary.
These would all be labeled like 12 or 13%.
So
that'd be fine.
Trying to keep that in mind when you're getting really picky.
Okay, so we're going to do that, the racking and sweetening, and put these back into other fermenters, and we'll be back.
Okay, so we racked, we back sweetened, we rebottled, and that's why
we re-poured glasses.
They look like they're basically the same thing.
Because any loss that we had from racking was put back with honey.
And because these are the only size of this vessel that we have, when Brian racked one of them to the pitcher, I went ahead
like 80 ounces
and washed it and re-sanitized it so we could use it again. Because if we went down, as you can see, we'd have extra.
So
Anyway.
whatever.
We
We did the best we could possibly do. Okay.
I'm gonna spared you all that nonsense.
All right. Where do you want to start with?
This one. This is fresh.
Okay. Fresh. Do it.
So these were all sweetened to
1.012.
Yes. And he started with the freeze dried.
I nailed it. First try.
It was, of course, that didn't happen for the other two.
Didn't happen with the other two.
You had to adjust it. But
that one was close. I got 1.010 and then had to add just a little tiny bit.
I'm still getting a little bit of youth on the aroma, which is not surprising. I don't feel like I'm getting honey character
smell like strawberry shortcake to
on
me,
the aroma.
Like the dolls.
Yeah, it's like the artificial strawberry scent.
Mm-hmm. Significantly improved.
Way more pleasant on the flavor.
I mean, obviously with some age, these would be good. Yeah. And we are going to put one bottle of each of these away for a year.
Plus one bottle
of all of them mixed together? Oh, you want to do that? Okay, we'll do that. Year. And that'll be on the tasting room when it comes out.
Yeah. I'm still getting the almost sour note. Yeah.
That's what a lot of people say. Oh, it turned to vinegar. No, it didn't. It's just a sourness of youth. And it's not even really sour. I don't think it's an acetic acid thing.
Yeah.
I really think it's just some of the funky flavors of youth.
And the tartness of strawberries.
That's true. Strawberries do have a little bit of it. Oh, what am I doing?
It's pre-done.
It's already poured.
It's pre-done.
There you go, babe.
Hey, we're smart. All right, so this is the frozen.
Mm-hmm. Smells like strawberry shortcake dolls.
It has a very different aroma.
Oh, I didn't compare them side by side.
That doesn't really have enough volume now to get.
I can put more in there.
Ooh, I'm liking the frozen.
Yeah, this has a little bit more of the vinegary sour smell. Definitely. The double swirl.
He's showing off now.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. The frozen is winning.
The frozen has... I have a theory on that, too. We'll talk about some theories and conjectures after we do some tastings. I get like a tropical fruit in that, too.
Yeah. On the aroma,
it was a little more fruity.
It was almost like kiwi.
Kiwi is what comes to mind, but I have kiwi on the brain because we've had kiwi.
We have a slight kiwi obsession going on right now, so pardon us.
We're trying to grow them, too. Figure out if we can. I like the frozen better. I think it had a little more, it was a little more complex flavor.
Yep.
And it didn't have as many of the harsher notes.
Now, none of these so far, other than that artificial strawberry smell, are really reading strawberry.
Oh, I get strawberry from them, but they're not like great. I'll just say that. And I think they're very young. I mean, these are literally 25 days old. You know what I mean? They're all very, very young.
Now, I'm on to freeze-dried.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I wasn't getting that odd aroma, but the last smell number 3, I detected the odd aroma. Initially, it was smelling more like wine.
So on frozen, I actually get kind of like a kiwi orange smell versus fresh. Ooh, that's very different. It's almost it's a sweeter fruit. It's to smell like tropical fruit. This doesn't smell like strawberry.
No, like initially, my first smell, it smelled like a grape wine, like a straight up wine.
There's a specific fruit. I can't think of it right now. That doesn't read strawberry.
Nope.
It really doesn't.
I like it a lot better now.
Yeah.
But
it's vastly different than the other two, though.
Yeah.
My assessment is the fresh is rougher on the edges, but tastes like strawberry, comes through with a little bit. There's like a few flavor notes in there that are okay. The frozen is strawberry, nice and fruity, more flavor notes, more complexity. And then the freeze-dried is like the redhead stepchild. It's like not the same as the other two. It's a different thing altogether. It doesn't taste like strawberry, which is very interesting. Do we need to do more to get more taste?
I would want more strawberry notes in all 3.
Well, yeah.
But as far as my personal palate preferences, woo,
I'm going to mix them.
Frozen is winning without me even really thinking about it.
Yeah, Frozen's the best one, by far, by a significant margin. I actually wasn't sure what to expect here, if there was going to be much difference between them.
I thought there was either going to be a really big difference or hardly any difference at all.
But do you agree with my assessment? Fresh is harsher has strawberry notes, but not a lot, and could use more sweetening probably and a lot of age to mellow out.
Yeah.
Frozen could use a little bit more sweetness. I'd like more strawberry, but it's already, it's strawberry. It's got good fruity notes to it, a lot of decent complexity with a little age and maybe even some more sweetening. That would be great. Doesn't need as much sweetening as the fresh though. And then freeze-dried is just weird. That's the best I can say. It's weird.
Altogether, it's very nice.
Yeah. Altogether, you have all the notes. You have this multi-layer going on. Really nice, because the freeze-dried has a nice fruity flavor, but it doesn't come across as strawberry to me. So from a harshness perspective, fresh was the harshest. Then came freeze-dried, then came frozen. Okay, frozen had the least harshness. When it comes to complexity, frozen had the most. I think fresh had the least, and freeze-dried was in the middle, but it was a weird complexity. It wasn't all good things. It was just lots of oddities combined together.
Now, I have some hypotheses on why they varied the way they did, and how we have unwittingly used those differences in the past to create a more complex beverage by combining different things.
Yep.
So we did add pectic enzyme to all of these.
That's right, we did.
To give the strawberries the best chance of being the most colorful and extract as much of their flavor as possible. So that is something that I thought was important, and I'm glad we did it for all three across the board.
Yeah. Okay.
Fresh tastes the youngest, and I think part of the reason that possibly could be is that there was no pre-degradation of the cell walls.
Yep,
they were just thrown in there. Plus, we kept the stems and the leaves on them, which may have helped with the yeast, but also may have added an additional flavor that we weren't anticipating.
I thought more tannic quality would come from that. I really didn't get any.
But that may be part of the hint of a vegetable note in with the youth.
Okay.
It wasn't strong enough that this is definitely vegetal. It's just, I think it played along with the youth sensation that the fresh was bringing to the palate.
That's fair.
Frozen, not surprisingly, is our favorite. And if we think about, even when we're using fresh fruit, we tend to prep them and freeze them before fermenting. So the cell wall degradation has already occurred due to the freezing process. So they were readily available to release all of their strawberry goodness. Plus, with the added pectic enzyme, it really worked really well.
That makes sense.
Then we have our outlier, which is the freeze-dried. And along with other things that we didn't try in this, so I'm acknowledging that now, so please don't yell at us in the comments, is just dried fruit. Not freeze-dried.
Totally different.
Just dried fruit.
To me, dried fruit is a whole different thing. It's not the same as the
dried
fresh
fruit,
or frozen fruit.
Tends to bring almost a cooked or
smoky,
pre-aged, smoky, all those words to the palate, which adds to complexity and works really well in conjunction with a frozen base. So I feel like this is kind of in that spectrum. It seems to be a little off beyond that, but I feel like the process of freeze drying may alter the flavors in a similar yet different way as drying fruit.
I agree. And if you look at the colorations, the best color came from the fresh fruit because it had the least amount of, well, I wouldn't say it's the best color, the most color realistically. Well, no, I don't know. Freeze-dried actually has the best
It's more vibrant, but I think it's possibly the clearest.
Okay. Well, I'm not going off clarity yet.
It's hard to tell.
We did just add honey to all three and mix it. I think from what we've seen for strawberry beverages, though, that's the closest thing to the real color of strawberry that we've seen. Because it usually comes out kind of orangey. It almost rarely comes out red.
Yeah.
That one came out the best, and I think it's because it was the most unadulterated of them.
Sure.
So it had the most of that color left. The frozen ones, they tend to leach out a little bit of their color from the freezing process, that kind of thing, so it kind of hurts them, if you will. And then the freeze-dried, they're just destroyed. Like, everything about them is just crumbled. They're a husk of themselves, you might say. So I'm going to say, though, the best way to do this is use all three.
Yeah.
And add dried. I think that would be such an interesting and complex
Right.
thing. And now we're going to have to do it.
And we have seen this in practice with some of our apple fermentations
Yep.
where we used a multitude of different types of
That's true.
fresh apples as our base.
And then dried apples
and
too.
then dried apples in conditioning to give that extra something to
We've
the
done,
brew.
like, in the apricot, I think we did fresh and dried apricots. We've done so many things where we did fresh and dried, but I don't think we've ever done fresh, frozen, freeze-dried, and dried all in the same.
Right. And sometimes
do it.
we even mix fruits where we have a base of a frozen fruit and then add in conditioning a different fruit that is dried,
Right.
be it raisins or currants or craisins or whatever. But adding those different types of styles of fruit in different stages really adds to the complexity. And so that is my takeaway from this. Yes, they are different, but they all have a purpose and a flavor profile that could benefit your beverage.
More so than just flavor changes, let's talk about actual use cases because they all have different things too. Let's say you're trying to use a fruit that is only seasonal, but you want to use it out of season. Okay, now you need to do frozen or freeze-dried. Let's say it's a fruit that you can't get fresh where you are. You might only be able to get freeze-dried, but you might still be able to get frozen too. If you have the choice, I would do frozen, okay? And maybe use freeze-dried in conditioning or something to add extra flavor to it. Just that extra little bit of funkiness actually is kind of nice. But then if you have like a U-pick near you and you can get that fruit in large quantities very affordably and you're going to use it very quickly, fresh. However, I'd probably still freeze it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. If you are able to get a vast amount of a fresh product at a reasonable price, I think this kind of shows you that it might be good to use the fresh as a base, have extra that you can freeze, and have even extra that you could possibly dry in your oven.
You could do that, but I think what I'm leaning towards is never using it fresh. Even if you get fresh, freeze it first to use it because you're going to get the best of all worlds.
Yeah, that is my favorite as well.
And that goes a long way. Like if you are using seasonal produce to make stuff, that means get it when it's best, freeze it, and then make your mead, you make your wine when it's most convenient for you. To me, that seems like the best of all worlds.
I know we're taking our time with the ending of this, but there's so much information here that I want to instill. And I know some of you are just shaking your fists and throwing a little tantrum, and I appreciate that because we haven't talked about the elephant in the room, and that's juice and canned fruit. Both of these things we've used on this channel, and both of these things we have had absolutely no problem using. And again, depending on where you are and the availability of the fruits you're trying to try out, you might only have a juice or a canned option, and that is okay. The things you want to check on those are the ingredients because not all juices and canned fruits are created equal.
Yeah, some of them have preservatives, ites and eights in them that you don't necessarily want. Now, if that's all you can get, you can actually get yeast to power through most of the time. Okay, I don't want to say all the time, but most of the time the juices have a very, very small amount of preservatives in them. And it's usually to keep the color or to just keep them from spoiling while they're being packaged, because once they're packaged, they're vacuum sealed, they're sanitized, they're not going to spoil.
With juices, you also want to check to see what juice is actually in there. It might be labeled as a particular fruit juice, but when you look at the ingredients, that fruit juice might be third on the ingredient list, with more neutral fruits actually taking up the bulk of the fermentation. Now, that is totally fine to ferment with. It's just something to keep in mind with your ingredients list.
Canned is a whole other animal. We actually have a podcast where we talk about some of this stuff, and it's something we should link to this. Canned is a whole other animal. It falls somewhere between a fresh and a freeze-dried, I would say, or a dried even.
Because the canning process
sort of cooked.
kind of cooks it, yeah.
So they taste a little bit different. We did fruit cocktail mead, and it came out quite nice.
Yep.
But someone actually said, would this be as good as using the fresh fruits to do that? I don't think so. I think the fresh fruit frozen to make that would be even better.
Yep.
But in a pinch, if that's all you can get, that's what you use. And that's part of what we're getting at with this one. Not so much what's best, it's what's best in your specific use case. Because I'm not going to tell somebody that all they can get is freeze-dried strawberries. They can't get frozen or fresh strawberries. Don't make strawberry mead or don't make strawberry wine. I'm just going to say, here's what you can expect from that.
Yep.
That's basically what we're getting at.
So
Because some fruits we can only get frozen or freeze dried.
Right. So the synopsis of our test is, yes, there are differences in the different types of fruit preservation styles, but that doesn't mean that one of them is fermentable and the others aren't. They're
No, they all work.
fermentable. They're just going to bring something different to the table.
But frozen is best. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.